what time it is? It is time for my final "'Tis the Season." Saying the recipe, I'll go through the ingredients. The first thing it calls for is 32 ounces of a frozen or canned corn. I just bought the big sack of frozen corn at Kroger a couple days ago. And it's actually 60 ounces, so technically it's not 64. I do have a can of corn, so I'm going to add that to it. Okay, it calls for 1 can, and it actually calls for the 1 can of chopped green chilies. I like the fire roasted. This is a small can, and I bought this yesterday knowing I had a can at home. I have the big can, and technically I could use just this, but I'm actually going to put them both in. So we like the fire roasted chilies. These are mild, so the boys, the little guys, they'll eat it too. Normally I go with medium. So, okay, so we'll do 2 cans of the chopped green chilies. And then for the sauce part, it calls for 8 ounces of cream cheese. So I'm doubling it. And a half a stick of butter. So I'm doubling that. And as you can see, I use real butter. I use real fat cream cheese. You can use all the, it calls for a 1/4 teaspoon of the garlic salt. So I'll be putting a 1/2 teaspoon. Now, the salt and peppers I use pretty much for cooking and on our food. I don't salt much, so, but I get these off of Amazon. They're bourbon smoked. That's the garlic salt. The pepper, I buy these like they're on subscribe, and this is a month, and the pepper's almost gone because I use this on everything. So this is about half full. And then the regular salt, which I don't use a lot, but if I need just salt in a recipe, then I use this. If it shouldn't have garlic in it for whatever reason that would be, because I love garlic. So this one's like full. And actually, they're on subscribe and save the threesome every month, but half the time, most of the time, I take this one off. It'll take me a while. Every once in a while, I'll get one and give it to somebody. So these are always in my kitchen, and I keep them handy in my little tray here. But the one I want to use today is, of course, the bourbon smoked garlic salt. And they make different products. The other thing I like to buy is the bourbon smoked sugar. And actually, my Christmas tree bread that I just put together this morning, I will, when I ice it, I'll probably put a little bit of this on it. Just gives it a little smoky tang. A little bourbon, but yeah, I mean, obviously it's just smoked. So, but yeah, so I use that for baking. So I'll put that back over here because I don't need it today. So, okay, so there's the salt. And then it calls for a 1/4 cup of milk, 1/2 and 1/2. Of course, I use heavy cream, so I'll be doing a 1/2 cup of this. So that makes it good tea. So, again, full fat. My diet of keto and slash carnivore together, I don't really restrict what I eat, but what I do eat, along with the intermittent fasting, I use full fat. So, because my body, when it goes into ketosis, burns fat for energy. So I have to eat fat. And I do not have high cholesterol. I have very low cholesterol, low blood pressure. And I've been doing this for years. And I get a major physical every January, so it's coming up. And, yeah, I have really good numbers on everything. So hopefully that never changes. But if it does, I'll deal with it. So that's the ingredients. The corn, the green chilies, the cream cheese, the butter, the salt, and the milk. So 6 ingredients. So, okay. So the recipe calls for 1/2 stick. I'm doubling it, so I'm putting a full stick of butter in the pan. And butter. We want 8 ounces of cream cheese, but doubling it will be 2 of these, 16 ounces. Let's go with the cream cheese. I'm gonna mash those up too. They've been sitting out a little bit, so they're pretty soft. I'm going to let those sit on low for probably about 5 minutes. I'll keep checking them. I'll be back. So I'll mention something here. I'm doing this. I have this really cool 1940s gas range. I think I mentioned it in one of my first cooking videos, or maybe the video where I showed my vintage appliances. But I got this in Minnesota. It was all white, got for $100. And it was in a guy's garage, hooked up in his garage because he had remodeled his kitchen when he'd gotten remarried in his house. And his house was probably, I think, a 1920s, 1930s, 40s house. The stove was in it when he bought it. And I don't think he was the original owner, but most likely it was what was put in houses back then. So, regardless, so this was in his house. He remodeled his kitchen, upgraded it, and his new wife wanted like a smooth top range in their cooktop, not range I guess, in their kitchen. So this went out in the garage. He hooked it up to a gas line on natural gas because that's where he lived. They had natural gas in his garage, and he would cook the Thanksgiving and Christmas turkeys in it. He would do his canning on it. He had this really cool alcove in his garage. He had a smoker there and everything. So he really loved this stove, and he didn't want to get rid of it, so he had it in his garage. When I bought it, he'd been diagnosed with cancer, and he was going downhill pretty fast. So he sold it to me knowing I wanted it, hauled it from Minnesota. But it was hooked up to natural gas. Where I live in remote western high country Colorado, that isn't even an option. So we're on propane. So stove's been in my kitchen, obviously, since we remodeled this kitchen winter before last. And I painted cabinets, moved cabinets, took down cabinets, put shelves, and did the epoxy countertops that look like concrete, and then put the double drain board sink in at that time, which I also got on the same trip for free. It was also white but chipped, so I had to have it redone and then powder coated. I took part of this apart, and these pieces that you see red were powder coated to match. Anyways, this is still set up for natural gas. It's been in my kitchen 2 years. There's a guy from Georgia that's going to come to Colorado at some point and put the different valve in it for me. It's something I just don't think I want to do myself. So I use it, but I have 2 of these cooked little burners. Got one in ruby. I've got like 3 or 4 of these, so they're handy. I just use those. For the oven, I use everything in my air fryer convection oven. So yeah, it works, and I don't have to clean another. Okay, so this is now milk with my really good bourbon smoked garlic salt. Put that in there. Then it calls for a 1/4 cup of milk, 1/2 or cream. So I'm using the heavy cream and doubling it, so it will be 1/2 cup. Little more. 1/2 cup. This is our sauce: cream cheese, the butter, the garlic salt, and the milk. And pour it in. So, because I'm doubling it, I'm going to do about half. Stir it up. I'm going to add the 2 cans of diced green chilies. These are the fire roasted diced green chilies. 1 can. I mean, if you don't like chilies, you only have to put it. So there is half the corn and the green chilies. Putting it on the burner on low while I stir it up. Okay, I'm going to add the rest of the corn. It just seems to be a little thicker. So I think I'm going to add a little bit of regular milk. I'm going to take it off the burner now. John drinks 2% milk, so we'll add some of that. So I just added a little bit of 2% milk to it to make it a little runnier. So I pre-sprayed this pan. Just going to go simple tomorrow. We don't have to wash this. I doubt we'll eat it all, but we'll have plenty. And that way I don't have to worry about bringing a dish home. So I'm going to dump this on camera into here. Let's stop right there because we're actually going to do a simple dinner. I usually do hors d'oeuvres, but we always watch National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. And maybe another movie too if we start early enough. If it does start snowing and we're both in the house, we might do that. And we eat pretty simple, watch the movie, eat some Christmas cookies, Christmas candy, and yeah, and then get ready for tomorrow, Christmas Day. So I'll be baking this at 350 degrees for 30 minutes. Now this is a double batch. I'm probably going to go down in that convection oven to 325 for about 40 minutes. I'm going to cover this, stick it in probably the freezer. I think I'm going to go. But that is feathered corn. It's a great dish. It goes great with ham. And we're having ham tomorrow, so I think we're having green bean casserole. I'm bringing a dip. They're making a dip. I'm bringing a cookie platter. John's making a banana cream pie later this afternoon, evening. And I'm not sure what else. I know they've been doing some baking down there, the kids in Grand Junction. So anyways, we'll have plenty. So looking forward to tomorrow's dinner, but tonight we get to have some of this. Thank you for joining me and watching me make feathered corn for our Christmas dinner tomorrow and the leftover for our Christmas Eve dinner tonight with elk brats. So, Merry Christmas Eve. Bye. Tonight.